I have a problem. My firewood is getting soaked outside and every time I've burned it, it smoked like crazy. So I decided to fix it. It wasn't always easy, but it was worth it in the end. I'm TPK and in this video I'm going to build a firewood shelter. So let us start from the beginning. I've got myself a lot of wooden planks and beams that I had to cut to size. First, I locked the beams together, measured them and sawed them at the correct length. I also sanded them down to prevent pointy splinters. Then I placed down the beams to check if the layout I planned for the base frame would work for my firewood. This looks perfect. Since it fit nicely, I started pre-drilling the holes into the beam and screwed the beams together. After I had done this on both ends, I flipped it over and screwed on beams at equal intervals for the bottom of the base frame. And with this, the base frame was finished and I was able to move on to the roof structure. And as always, I had to measure and saw the beams first. And of course, I sanded down the edges as well. I used the base frame for reference and started by pre-drilling and screwing on the end pieces. After I had done this, I went on to screw on boards at equal intervals. With the roof structure done, I was able to put on the roof. I used 4-way planed Douglas fir boards. When putting on the boards, it was important to check the correct positioning for attaching it to the structure underneath. So I always checked the positioning before, and while I was screwing it onto the structure. I only had to remove the overhang at the end and the roof was finished. Now onto the side frames. I started with the usual procedure. I measured and sawed the beams and placed the layout for the side frames. After the layout was placed, I was able to pre-drill holes into the beams and screwed the frame together. Then I was able to add cladding to the frame. After I had built 2 side pieces, it was time to mount it onto the base frame. I used clamps to hold the side frames in place, while I drilled holes into the beams and screwed the frames together. Now the same on the other side. I also added diagonal beams for more support to make it very sturdy. Now to the tough part. I figured that the roof is too heavy to lift it on top of the frame. Therefore I tipped over the structure and attached the roof while it is laying on the floor. It was nevertheless difficult to set up the shelter with most of the weight on the top, but after a bit of struggle we managed it and it already looks great. The only problem I noticed after I put it upright was the sharp corners of the roof. I sawed them off and sanded the edges to prevent anyone from bumping into them. The only thing left to do now is to fill it up with firewood. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, feel free to leave a like and subscribe to not miss any future videos. Thanks for watching and I will see you soon.